Everyone, Janet over at the 4-H office with today's fun project. We are actually going to make a homemade thermometer of sorts that will test your hypothesis about heat and cold and how liquids expand and contract. For today's project, what you're going to need is an empty glass bottle. If you can find something with a smaller mouth than this iced coffee one, that would actually be better, but we'll make this work. You'll need some rubbing alcohol, a measuring cup with water in it, as well as some modeling clay, a straw, food coloring, and a black Sharpie marker. You'll also need some newspaper to work on so we don't get food coloring all over our table, as well as a clipboard to create a little hypothesis and a chart to track our results of our science experiment with our thermometer today. So to get started, what we're going to do is fill our bottle a quarter of the way with the water. If you read the label before you take it off and figure out how many ounces this bottle holds, you can do some math. Just take the total ounces, divide by 4, and that tells you how many ounces of water to put in. So I am going to very carefully fill my bottle a quarter of the way with some water. All right, and then we are also going to add the same amount of rubbing alcohol, which you can measure out as well. So I put approximately 3/4 of a cup, 2/3 of a cup really, of water in mine. So I'm going to put 2/3 of a cup of rubbing alcohol. Into my bottle. Spilling a little bit. All right, perfect. Our next step is to add some food coloring. We're adding the food coloring today so that we can actually track the level of fluid that moves up in our straw. So you can count the drops. If you want a darker fluid, you're going to add more drops of food coloring. I'm just going to put my straw in, give it a little bit of a stir. Got to have a green thermometer. We are 4-H. All right. Once we do this, the hard part comes up. We're actually going to take our modeling clay, and you might need quite a bit depending on the opening of your bottle. That way, if you have a bottle with a more narrow opening, you'll need less modeling clay for this. We're going to put the modeling clay around the top of our bottle with the straw coming up directly through the center. And we want our straw to hang in the bottle, not touching the bottom of it. That's going to allow enough room for the fluid as the temperature changes to rise and lower inside of our thermometer. So just off the bottom, centered fairly in the middle, or as much middle as we can get. We're going to take our modeling clay, make sure it's hanging straight, create a nice top for our bottle. Once we have our straws suspended off the bottom of the bottle and you have your modeling clay secure so your straw isn't moving either up or down, what you're going to do is just take a look around the side of the bottle and you're actually going to mark where the liquid is. Your bottle should be about halfway full. Mine is probably a little too full at this point, but we're just going to take a look and mark where the liquid is in the straw, just at room temperature. Make a mark on our bottle like so with our Sharpie. And what we're actually going to do is test a hypothesis, and a hypothesis is kind of an educated guess. So that's where our paper and clipboard come in handy for this project. What we're going to do is actually create a little chart, a little science lab journal. So my hypothesis for my homemade thermometer So my educated guess for my project is based on my knowledge of heat and cold and how things contract and expand based on different temperatures. My hypothesis is when placed in the sunshine, my green liquid will rise in my straw. So sunshine gives us warmth, and I'm saying that my liquid will actually expand. It'll come up my straw. So for those of you following along at home, what would happen if I was to take my thermometer and actually put it in the refrigerator? Would the liquid come up the straw, or do you think it would stay at the same level as room temperature, or actually would we see a little bit less liquid in our straw? I'm saying if it gets colder out, you won't see the liquid quite as high up your straw. So once I have my hypothesis down, I'm going to brainstorm a list of ideas of where I could set my thermometer to test my hypothesis. So I could say a windowsill. Maybe I could pop it in the refrigerator or set it outside in the morning because it's pretty cold right now. So I'm going to say outside in the morning. Where else could we put this? Maybe I could actually set it on the heater in the house. The register in the floor, maybe, where the warm air comes up. And maybe I'll set it in the refrigerator. So we've created our little chart. And then what we're going to do, what are our outcomes? What do we see? So you can have a little lab page just like this set up so that you can track what happens with your homemade thermometer in your science experiment. You can try different places. You can set your thermometer out during different times of the day in the same place if you want to have a controlled, more of a controlled experiment. But any way you do it, you can try out your new homemade thermometer, see if it keeps up with the thermometers that you may have outside, in your car, on your phone, to kind of track the temperature and what happens with the liquid as it expands and contracts. Hope you've had fun learning and try this simple little experiment at home. To find out more about Shenango County 4-H, please find us on Facebook at Shenango County 4-H and on our YouTube channel, Shenango County 4-H. Have a great day.